Golden Blue Dude here with you again. If you haven't already, go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button. I make videos every single day, sometimes multiple videos, depending on how active the day is or what kind of mood I'm in. So, if you don't like this video, maybe you'll like one of my other videos. So, it's already known the Big 12 is definitely planning to play football, and they've released their revised schedule out, so we know what everybody's schedule is going to look like, and it's supposed to start in the last week of September. I put a video out earlier about the schedule and some bold predictions. I had to get that out of my system, and those bold predictions could still happen, but those are some unlikely scenarios. So on this video, I'm going to go through the Big 12 schedule and give you my actual opinion on what I think probably will happen. Let me give you some idea as to how much work goes into this show. This right here, that's about maybe about 2 or 3 months worth of notes that I write down. You can see on there, notes. So this is not a willy-nilly show. I take it serious. Sometimes I do make, some outlandish claims and stuff like that, but I do my research, and a lot of writing goes into these shows. So let's get into it. First of all, I'm going to list how I think the conference will finish, okay? And then we're going to go through each team's schedule as to why I think that in their final record. So here we go. Number 10, I think, will be Texas Tech. I think they're healing from a lot of injuries and being banged up. I know Alan Bowman will be back, but he's been out for a while. I think Texas Tech ends Kansas's drought of being last every year. But Texas Tech will be back. Number 9, of course, Kansas. No explanation. Number 8 will be Baylor. I have Baylor taking a serious step back, not because of Charlie Brewer. He's a great quarterback. But losing Matt Rule is a big deal, I'm telling you. Number 7, Kansas State. Now, this is the area where it can fluctuate. So don't get mad if you think this is a little low. The 5 to 7 range is give and take. I think Kleiman is a great coach, and he will have Kansas State in the upper echelon of the Big 12. I just think this year, number 7 feels right. Number 6, I think, will be TCU. I think TCU might be a little bit better than last year, but I think they'll be on their way back because we still don't know about the Gary Patterson situation. He does tend to rebound quite nicely, but that's a big if. This is where I have West Virginia, number 5. I think this is going to be a big step for West Virginia. The schedule sets up halfway decent. More home games than road games, even though I know the crowd won't be a factor. Number 4, Iowa State. But like I said in the other video, don't sleep on them. Very possible they could win the Big 12. Number 3, Oklahoma State. A ton of talent. I don't have a lot of trust in the Oklahoma State to win the Big 12. Number 2 is Texas. Sam Ehlinger, I think he's going to have a great year. Texas, not an awful schedule. It sets up nicely. And then number 1, Oklahoma. Like they say, in order to be the man, you have to beat the man. So let's go through the schedules real quick. Number 10, Texas Tech. They get home against Texas. That's a loss. Away Kansas State, loss. Away Iowa State, loss. Then they get their bye. Home West Virginia, loss. That was a win last year. I think West Virginia beats them on the road this year. Home against Oklahoma, big loss. On the road against TCU, loss. Home against Baylor, loss. And then on the road against Oklahoma State, loss. And then to finish the season, I think it's going to be a home loss against Kansas. But that Kansas and Texas Tech are interchangeable. So I have them going either 0-9 or 1-8. Number 9, Kansas. Let's look at their schedule. Road game, Baylor, loss. Home game, Oklahoma State, loss. Road game, West Virginia, loss. Road game, Kansas State, loss. Home game, Iowa State, loss. Away game, Oklahoma, loss. Home game, Texas, loss. Home game, TCU, loss. And then I have them winning against Texas Tech on the road at the very end. But like I said, that's interchangeable. So I have them either going 1-8 or 0-9. Then we get to number 8, Baylor. They start off the season home against Kansas. There's a win. And then away at West Virginia. That's going to be a loss. Home game against Oklahoma State. Loss. At Texas. Loss. Home against TCU. This is one of those games that can be interchangeable with another game I'll mention. So I'll give them a half here. At Iowa State, loss. And then at Texas Tech, that's going to be a win. And then home against Kansas State, that's going to be the interchangeable game with TCU. So one of those will be a win, and one of those will be a loss. And then at Oklahoma, that's a loss. So I have Baylor going 3-6. So then we have Kansas State, number 7. At Oklahoma to start off the year. Woo, that's rough. Loss. Home against Texas, win. And then there's a questionable game at TCU. I'll give them a half there. Home game against Kansas, win. At West Virginia, loss. Home against Oklahoma State, loss. At Iowa State, loss. At Baylor. Like I said with Baylor, that could be interchangeable. And I'm going to go with that in the TCU game. And then home against Texas. So they'll win one and they'll lose one with TCU and Baylor. So I have Kansas State also going 3-6. Then we get to TCU. I think TCU could have a little bit better of a year than Kansas State or Baylor. They start off with home against Iowa State. Iowa State is just going to be too good for TCU. I'm going to give them a loss. At Texas, loss. And then that interchangeable game against Kansas State, half. Home against Oklahoma, loss. And then that away game against Baylor that is also interchangeable. Home against, so that'll be half. Home against Texas Tech, win. At West Virginia, loss. At Kansas, win. And then home against Oklahoma State. So I think TCU could either go 3-6 or 4-4. So I do have Kansas State and Baylor on their schedule as interchangeable, but they could also win both of those. I don't think they'll lose both of them, but they could win both or just one. So either 3-6 or 4-4. Then number 5, West Virginia. They start off the season at Oklahoma State. Rough start. This isn't your usual West Virginia schedule. Usually it's back heavy. This is more balanced, okay? So at Oklahoma State, loss. Then we get the home game against Baylor. That's a win. Then a bye. Home against Kansas, win. Road game against Texas Tech, win. Home game against Kansas State, win. Road game against Texas, loss. Home against TCU, win. And then another bye. And then we get a home game against Oklahoma that I haven't completely made my mind on. I think they could win that game, but I'm not ready to 100% commit to that. And then at Iowa State is going to be a loss. So I think West Virginia either goes 5-5 or 6-4. Then we have the next. There's 3 echelons. You have Kansas and Texas Tech. That's the bottom echelon. Then you have the next, and that's Baylor, Kansas State, TCU, and West Virginia. I think West Virginia is in the highest part of that second echelon. So now we move on to the top part of the echelon. This is where things will get really, really interesting. Oklahoma State, very, very talented, but I don't trust them. So I have them at number 3 and Iowa State number 4. Those two could be interchangeable, so we'll see. So let's start out with Iowa State. At TCU, win. Home against Oklahoma. I'm going to say that's a win. Home against Texas Tech, win. At Oklahoma State, loss. At Kansas, win. Home against Baylor, win. Home against Kansas State, win. At Texas, that's another loss. And then home against West Virginia, that's also a win. So I have Iowa State going 7-2. Number 4, but they are a major sleeper to win the Big 12. Number 3, Oklahoma State. A ton of talent. I just don't trust them. And the only reason that they even get the 3rd spot is they get the tiebreaker over Iowa State, because I have them winning at home against Iowa State. So number 3, Oklahoma State. Home against West Virginia, that's a win. Road game at Kansas, win. At Baylor, win. Home against Iowa State, win, which is what puts them in 3rd place. Home against Texas, that's a loss. I think that's where they slip up. At Kansas State, win. At Oklahoma, loss, and it could be a big loss. That'll really open some people's eyes. At Oklahoma, that's going to be a big loss. Home against Texas Tech, win. At TCU, win. So I have Oklahoma State also going 7-2, but because of the tiebreaker against Iowa State, I have them number 3. Then we go on to number 2, and that is Texas. They start the year off with a pretty cushy game. At Texas Tech, win. Home against TCU, win. At Oklahoma, that is going to be a loss. And that is why they're going to be in 2nd place. That is a tiebreaker game. Home against Baylor, win. At Oklahoma State, win. Some people might consider that an upset. I don't. I don't trust Oklahoma State. Home against West Virginia, win. At Kansas, win. Home against Iowa State, win. At Kansas State, and that's a win. So I have Texas going 8-1. So y'all know who I have at number 1, and that is going to be Oklahoma. But listen to me very carefully. There is one game that could trip them up. I've already mentioned it, and we will get to it. Home against Kansas State, that's a win. Then I think that road trip to Iowa State is going to be a solid loss. I trust Iowa State at home against Oklahoma. They know how to beat Oklahoma. I think they get it done. They have enough talent to do it. Home against Texas, win. Road game against TCU. And that home game against Texas, that win, that's the tiebreaker. That's why they're going to finish first. Anyways, at TCU, win. At Texas Tech, big win. Home against Texas, big win. Home against Oklahoma State, win. And then at West Virginia, that's the one that I haven't committed to. I'm going to say win, but I'm not 100% sure on that either way. And then home against Baylor. So that West Virginia game could be a pretty big factor as to the standings of the Big 12. And either way, Oklahoma and Texas, I have them playing each other in the Big 12 championship. But like I said before, Iowa State is definitely the team to keep your eye on. Oklahoma State has the talent. I just don't trust them. I think Iowa State is more trustworthy, and I think they're more up and coming. And they've proven they know how to beat the big dogs. That's the thing with Oklahoma State. They've beaten who they're supposed to beat, but they've never proven to me that they can beat the big dogs. They can't beat Oklahoma, and they can't beat Texas. Iowa State has done both relatively consistently over the past 5 to 8 years. So I trust Iowa State more than Oklahoma State, but because of that tiebreaker at Oklahoma State, that's the only reason why I have Oklahoma State ahead of Iowa State. But as far as the dark horse, I would definitely trust Iowa State way more. So that's my for real thoughts on the upcoming Big 12 football season. That is definitely going to happen. I hope you enjoyed it. That's all I got for you today. Like and subscribe if you haven't already. And I'll see you on my next show.